All right, so are you ready to dive into some seriously deep stuff today? Because that's what we're doing. We're going to tackle the age-old question. What happens to us after we die? And not just in a general way, but more like, how do our actions in this life actually affect what happens in the afterlife?
Yeah, it's a question that's been around forever, right?
Right.
But we're going to try to get some answers, or at least some insights from Alan Kardec's The Spirits book.
Okay, so for those not familiar, this book is all about Kardec's communication with spirits to explore like the nature of the soul and what happens after death.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're zeroing in on a section called Temporary Punishments, which I gotta say is a pretty intense topic.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it gets to the heart of whether our earthly actions have real, tangible consequences after we're gone. So, like, let's say someone lived a pretty good life here on Earth, but maybe they weren't always the kindest person. Maybe they were a little selfish or quick to judge. Do they just get a free pass in the afterlife?
Well, according to the spirits, not so fast. They're pretty clear that just because the physical body dies doesn't mean suffering ends.
Okay, so no escaping the consequences even after death.
Right. And they even describe mental anguish as being way more intense than physical pain.
Whoa. Okay, so we're not talking about fire and brimstone here.
Yeah.
But more like facing the mental and emotional repercussions of our actions.
That's it. And it gets even more interesting. The spirit suggests that these mental punishments often directly mirror the wrongdoings from the person's earthly life.
So like a karmic reflection. What goes around comes around, but on a mental and emotional level.
Exactly. So for example, someone who hoarded wealth in life and totally ignored the suffering of others, well, they might find themselves experiencing the intense frustration and deprivation of poverty in the afterlife. They might feel that very lack that they inflicted on others.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you rethink how you treat others and how you view material possessions, knowing there could be that kind of mirrored consequence.
It really adds another dimension to personal accountability, doesn't it? It makes you consider the ripple effects of your actions in a whole new way.
For sure. But, okay, what about the tough stuff that people go through in life that doesn't seem directly tied to their actions? Like maybe someone who is born into poverty or experiences a terrible illness. How does the Spirits book address that?
Well, that's where the concept of reincarnation comes in. The spirits explain that not every hardship is a direct punishment for actions in this life. Some struggles might actually be pre-chosen trials that the soul agreed to before birth to learn certain lessons, or even to pay off karmic debts from past lives.
Hold on, so you're saying it's possible that we actually chose certain challenges before we were even born? Like, okay, give me that poverty challenge. I'm ready to learn resilience and compassion.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing, right? It suggests that we have a much bigger role in shaping our own destinies than we might realize. We might even be choosing the hardships that will ultimately help us evolve.
Wow, I'm already looking at life's challenges in a whole new light. It's almost like we're given these custom-designed courses for soul growth.
And the really cool part is, the spirits suggest that as we learn and purify our souls, we can actually progress to less dense, more harmonious worlds in future lives. It's like a reward for facing those challenges head on.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom in the afterlife. There's actually an opportunity for growth and progress. Tell me more about these advanced worlds. What are they like?
Well, picture this. The spirits describe these worlds as having fewer material needs, less physical hardship. And get this, fewer of the emotional burdens we carry here.
Wait, you're telling me less stress, less drama? Where do I sign up?
Right, and it gets even better. The inhabitants of these worlds are said to be free from things like jealousy and hatred. They choose instead to live in peace and practice justice, love, and charity.
It sounds pretty utopian.
Yeah.
But okay, I gotta ask. If these advanced worlds are the reward, what happens if we just kind of coast through life here, not doing anything particularly bad, but not really striving for growth either? Do we just miss out on those higher realms?
That's a great question. And it leads us to a really important point that the spirits emphasize in the Spirits book. They warn us about the dangers of inaction.
Oh.
They're basically saying, hey, not doing evil isn't enough. You got to actively strive for improvement to move forward.
So just being a decent person isn't going to cut it. We have to put in the effort to actually grow and evolve.
Exactly. They suggest that a seemingly happy but passive life might feel good in the moment, but could lead to some serious regret in the afterlife for all those wasted opportunities for growth.
That's a powerful message. So it's not enough to just avoid doing harm. We have to actively cultivate good, strive to improve, and contribute to the world around us.
Right, and you know what's even more fascinating? It's not just our actions that have consequences. The spirits also talk about the importance of our character. Even seemingly small character flaws can have a big impact.
You mean those less than ideal traits we all have, like being impatient or judgmental sometimes? Are you saying those things have an impact in the afterlife too?
Absolutely, and that's actually where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore how even subtle aspects of our personalities can create ripples that extend far beyond our earthly lives.
Okay, so we're back. And I don't know about you, but that last part really got me thinking about my everyday choices. Like, do they really have consequences that last beyond this life?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to process, especially that whole idea that even our little character flaws, the things we don't always like about ourselves, those can have an impact in the afterlife.
Yeah, that's what really stuck with me. So let's unpack that a bit more.
Right.
We all have those quirks, right? Like maybe we're a little impatient, sometimes judgmental, quick to anger. Are those things going to come back to haunt us after we're gone?
Well, according to the Spirits book, it's not so much about being haunted, but more about experiencing the consequences of those flaws in a very real way.
Okay, I'm listening. How does that work exactly? Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine someone who is constantly critical of others during their life. They weren't necessarily malicious or anything, but they always had something negative to say, always pointing out flaws and putting others down. Well, the spirit suggests that in the afterlife, that person might be surrounded by that very negativity that they put out into the world.
So instead of finding themselves among loving and supportive spirits, they're met with judgment and criticism, almost like a self-created hell.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
powerful image, and it really shows how the energy we put out into the world, even through subtle personality traits, can shape our experience in the afterlife.
Okay, wow. It's definitely making me rethink that snarky comment I made to my coworker this morning. But on a serious note, what about someone who just kind of kept to themselves, didn't do any harm, but also didn't put much good out into the world? Where do they end up?
That's where this idea of stagnation comes in. The spirit suggests that just avoiding evil isn't actually enough to ensure progress in the afterlife.
So you need more than that.
You need to actively strive for growth. Really use your time on earth to cultivate virtues like kindness, compassion, and love.
Okay, so someone who kind of floats through life without really putting in the effort to grow, they might find themselves stuck, like they haven't done anything to deserve punishment, but they also haven't done anything to earn advancement.
Exactly. They might experience a sense of regret for all the missed opportunities. They were given this incredible gift, a human life, but didn't fully unwrap it.
Wow, yeah. It makes you think about what that regret would actually feel like in the afterlife. Like, is it just a fleeting feeling or something much deeper and more persistent?
Well, that's something that Kardec actually asks the spirits about in the Spirits book, and their answers are pretty fascinating.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So the spirits explain that this regret isn't just some passing sadness. It's a really deep, pervasive understanding of all those missed opportunities, all that unrealized potential. It's the weight of what could have been if they had only made different choices.
So it's not just about feeling bad. It's about understanding the impact of your choices and facing all those paths you didn't take.
Exactly. And it gets even more intense because the spirits say this regret can actually be amplified by witnessing the progress of others who did use their time on Earth to grow and evolve.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about facing your own stagnation. It's about seeing how much others have progressed while you've remained stuck. That would be tough.
It would. It's like being frozen in place while everyone else is moving forward. And the spirits say this can be a powerful motivator for future growth. It can prompt the soul to choose a new life filled with more challenges and opportunities for learning.
So it's not a permanent state of being stuck. There's still hope for progress.
Absolutely. The spirits emphasize that the soul's journey towards perfection never ends. We can always choose to learn, grow, and evolve, even if we've made mistakes in the past.
That's good to hear. It makes me think about how we approach challenges in this life. Maybe instead of viewing hardships as punishments, we can see them as opportunities for growth and stepping stones on our path.
Exactly. It's all about embracing the journey, acknowledging our flaws, and striving to become better versions of ourselves.
This is giving me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's making me look at my own life and choices in a whole new light. But there's still so much to uncover. So what else did Kardec learn from the spirits about these temporary punishments?
Well, in the next part, we're going to dive into one of the most profound concepts in the Spirits book, the idea that we are all interconnected and that the harm we inflict on others ultimately comes back to affect us, not just in the afterlife, but potentially in future lives as well.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into temporary punishments, and wow, This has been a journey, right?
It has. And we've covered some really profound concepts from Alan Kardec's The Spirits book, like how our actions and even our smallest character flaws can have consequences that reach far beyond our time on Earth.
Yeah. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But what I appreciate about Kardec's work is that it's not just about scaring us into being good or laying out some kind of divine rule book. It's more about helping us understand how our actions ripple out and affect everything and everyone around us.
Exactly. And those ripples extend not just through this life, but also into the afterlife. So in this last part, we're going to explore what the spirits revealed about how the harm we inflict on others during our life can actually come back to affect us.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, because you mentioned earlier that the suffering we cause others doesn't just disappear, right? It creates some kind of energetic debt that we have to repay.
Right. And it's not necessarily through some external punishment, like being struck by lightning or something. It's more about experiencing a reflection of that suffering ourselves.
So less about a cosmic judge handing down a sentence, and more about the natural consequences of our actions playing out on a deeper level.
Precisely. Like a boomerang. The negativity we send out eventually comes back to us, and we end up facing the pain we caused.
Okay, so let's say someone was emotionally abusive to their partner in this life. Does that mean they'll experience that same emotional abuse in the afterlife?
That's the idea. The spirits suggest that in the afterlife, we will actually feel the full weight of the suffering we caused others. It allows us to understand the true impact of our actions.
That's heavy stuff. But does it end there? Like, do we just experience that reflected suffering and then move on?
Well, that's where reincarnation comes in. It adds another layer to this whole concept.
Okay.
Because the spirits suggest that those karmic debts from past lives, those can actually carry over into future lives. So the harm we inflicted in one life might manifest as challenges or hardships in a subsequent life, to kind of prompt us to learn from our mistakes and make different choices.
So it's not just about facing consequences in the afterlife. It's about carrying those lessons forward into future incarnations to hopefully break those negative cycles and evolve as a soul.
Exactly. It's a continuous journey of learning and growth. And the spirits emphasize that we're never truly stuck. We always have the opportunity to learn, make amends, and choose a different path.
That's actually really reassuring. It means that even if we've messed up pretty badly in this life or even past lives, there's still hope for redemption and growth.
Exactly. The point of these temporary punishments isn't to condemn us. It's to guide us towards greater understanding and spiritual evolution.
I love that. So it's not about living in fear of retribution. It's about understanding that our actions matter and using that knowledge to make more compassionate and conscious choices.
Right. We're all on this journey together. And the choices we make today can shape not only our own future, but also the future of everyone around us, both in this world and the next.
Wow. This has been an incredibly thought-provoking conversation. It's
Yeah.
really making me look at my own life and choices in a whole new light.
Me too. And I think that's the beauty of exploring these concepts. It helps us reflect on our own lives and consider how we can move forward with more awareness, kindness, and compassion.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into temporary punishments, what's the one thing you hope listeners take away from all of this?
Well, I think the most important message is that our actions have consequences, not just in this life, but beyond. But those consequences aren't meant to punish us. They're meant to teach us, to help us evolve, and to guide us towards a more fulfilling and harmonious existence.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive. But the exploration doesn't have to stop here. Keep asking questions, keep learning. And most importantly, keep striving to be the best versions of yourselves. Thanks for joining us.